the youth. And I will start by bringing some facts from WHO, because this is an authority on matters mental health. And according to WHO, a research they have done, they have come to realize that half of all mental health conditions, they start by the age 14 years. That is adolescence. A majority, not even a majority, half of all mental health conditions, they start by 14 years. But it's also unfortunate that this mental health condition, they go undetected and they go untreated. And because they go undetected and untreated, you'll agree with me that they will actually spill over to an individual's adult life. Something else, another fact from WHO, is that poor mental health in adolescence is actually one of the factors that influence risk-taking behaviors amongst adolescents. It is also another factor that actually influences their risky sexual behavior and also exposure to violence. Once in a while, we hear that young people have done some things, and you're like, how could they do that? But according to WHO, poor mental health is one of those factors that would push young people into risk-taking behavior like self-harm, alcohol and drug use, risky sexual behaviors, as well as exposure to violence. So what is mental health? Because you're talking about mental health of the youth. What is actually mental health? We have just rated ourselves right now, and we have rated our self-assessment on how do we rate on matters mental health. Back to WHO. What is mental health? Let me submit to us that it is a state of well-being in which an individual does the following. These are the 4 parameters for us to use to know how are we doing as far as matters mental health are concerned. And the first parameter that is indicative of our mental health is whether you are able to realize your full potential. It's a state of well-being in which you and I, we are able to realize our full potential. Number 2, we can cope with normal stresses of life. I want to emphasize on the word normal. Are you able to cope with the normal stresses of life, the traffic jam, a misunderstanding with somebody? Are you able to cope? Number 3, are you able to cope, to work productively and fruitfully? And number 4, are you able to make a contribution to the community? So those are the 4 parameters that we use to assess our mental health status. A state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively or fruitfully, and can make a contribution to the community. And community can represent any gathering of people, anywhere. Be it in the mosque as you meet together, be it in your family, be it at your workplace, wherever people gather, are you able to make a contribution? But at the same time, let me also say this, that mental health is a spectrum, and we actually oscillate in that spectrum. At one point, I might feel, wow, I'm doing so well. But there are moments because of the stresses of life, I might find myself, I am struggling in a specific way. So we cannot say that mental health, you remain at one point. No, it is a spectrum. We have what we call the healthy you. Then we have at a level when you have some stress. And then you have a point where you are struggling with what you are going through. And we have another level of crisis. So before someone hits crisis, they have already been struggling in life. So it is a spectrum. And all of us, we oscillate within that spectrum on mental health. All of us. Today I am here, tomorrow I'm at a different place. So let's go to the topic of the day. What factors really affect adolescents or youth's mental health? What are these factors? They are divided broadly into 3. Personal factors, like biological, psychological characteristics. This is where personality issues also come in. We have environmental factors, what happens to us from the environment, be it the environment at home, be it in school, be it at your workplace, be it amongst your peers. And the last cluster of factors is what we call the family factor. Now, parenting style comes under parenting style comes under family factor, and that is our focus today, parenting style. To what extent does it at all affect the mental health of young people? And before we delve into parenting styles and mental health, allow me pause and ask you a question. To what degree does parenting style affect children's mental health in a scale of 1 to 3? To what degree? And I want to invite us to help me answer this question. To what degree does parenting style, wow, you are doing good. This is quite encouraging. People have to eat. To what degree does parenting style affect children's mental health? 3 means a high likelihood, and 1 means low likelihood of parenting styles affecting the mental health of young people. 2 means on average. On average, they can affect, they cannot affect. But 3 means a high likelihood that the parenting style will affect the mental health of a child. Wow, that is quite good. I can see quite a number of us are busy answering the question. I encourage us to answer within the next 10 seconds so that from there we can rate ourselves and get to know how are we doing. I can see people are still answering the question. Okay, if you would allow me, I can see that, okay, people are still answering, good. I give you 5 seconds now. This is quite encouraging, a very interactive group. Quite good. Wow, wow. Okay, I can see 1, 2, 3. Now, if I may just take a pause, I can see that 8 people have answered. Anyone else? 39, that's good. Okay. If you don't mind, allow me comment on what you already have. From the look of things, it is very clear that a majority of us at a percentage at 70% are saying categorically that parenting styles affect the mental health of children. Parenting styles affect children's mental health. And 70% is a very, very high percentage. And I am glad that you're of that opinion, because even as we continue with this presentation, you will actually confirm that for sure parenting styles affect the mental health of their children. Thank you so much. I wish I can continue with my presentation. So if we may ask, what is parenting style? Someone would ask that question. What is parenting style and how do they affect? Let me submit to us that the kind of an environment that parents set for their children at home, the environment parents set up at home, can either have a positive or negative implication on the children's mental health. A warm and a welcoming atmosphere, it ensures affection and security, and it eliminates the risk of psychological disorders. More often than not, parents are the ones who create an environment, either conducive or unconducive environment actually at home. Now, parenting styles, this is a finding from my research. Parenting style not only directly affects the mental health of adolescents, but parenting style also impacts the development of the adolescent's personality and other psychological characteristics. It not only affects the mental health, it also has a long-lasting impact on the adolescent's personality. And that is quite profound, because parents are very key in the development of a child. So what are parenting styles, and what are these parenting styles we are talking about today? Now, parenting styles refers generally to a constellation of parents' behavior. So it's about a parent's behavior, it's about a parent's belief, and it's about a parent-child interaction attitude, the attitude that a parent has in his or her interaction with the child across a variety of, and so specific, a parent's behavior that he or she uses to socialize the child. So parenting style is a constellation, is a summation of parental behaviors, their beliefs, and their attitudes, and how they use the three components to socialize their children. And I also want to bring to our attention something very important. The parents are the major attachment figures for children. They are the major attachment figures. In fact, we say that family is the primary socializing agent. I am who I am because of a few things I learned from my home when I was growing up as a child. So a parental acceptance or rejection have an extremely important effect on a child's mental health. Why so? Because the parent is the major attachment figure. If there is a disconnection with the main figure, the attachment figure, then you can be sure that child developed something that was not in them by the time they were actually born. So therefore, let's look at the parenting styles, and then later on we look at how do they affect. Is it true they affect the mental health of children who actually, at the end of the day, are talking about the adolescents and the children. And there are 4 distinct parenting styles. But all these 4 parenting styles, they are derived from 2 important dimensions. Number 1, parental control and parental warmth. The 4 types of parenting styles, the 4 parenting styles, they all fall under one basket that has parental control and parental warmth. So those are the 2 parameters that are measured as far as the different styles of parenting are concerned. So let's look at these parenting styles. And as I bring out the characteristics of it, please reflect on yourself as a parent. If you're not a parent, reflect on your life when you are growing up. What kind of a style did your parents actually exhibit? What was their style of parenting? And how has it impacted you, even this moment as you speak? Has it shaped the way you also parent? Just have a moment of reflection. So the 4 parenting styles is authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and involved. And what we call an involved, we also call it the neglecting parenting style. Briefly, let's look at each and then we summarize on how does it affect the mental health of children. Now, this is just an addition to what I have said. Parenting can be child-centered or parent-centered. That's why we're talking about warmth and control. Now, some parenting types help kids to be mentally healthy, so they are positive as they grow up. Others, some parenting styles, they are a source of stress and definitely mental health problems amongst the children. But which are these and how do they impact? Let's start with the first type of parenting style, authoritarian parenting style. What characterizes this type of parenting? Authoritarian parents, they exert control while lacking empathy. They lack warmth. They have a lot of control on their children, but they are not warm at all. These are the parents that set out rules and regulations and expectations. And the children are supposed to adhere to those expectations. And you don't ask a question. I have said it, listen, yours is to do and not to say anything. You are to follow and not to ask a question. And one characteristic of these authoritarian parents is that these parents, they are unresponsive. They are not sensitive to the physical and emotional needs of their children. They are not. They don't pay attention to the needs of their children. So they are so unresponsive. So it doesn't make a difference if you get hurt and your parent is there. It doesn't make any difference because they are not responsive. The same parents, they are highly controlling. They demand mature behavior beyond what is age appropriate. You're supposed to do some things, it doesn't matter your age. And we are not reasoning. I have said it and it is final. That is what we call authoritarian parenting. So what they do, they talk at their kids rather than talking to them. They talk at them. Authoritarian parenting style. So they do not show any affection. They don't show any affection. More so, they have little to no direction. When a child makes a mistake, these parents, their work is to punish and not to direct the child on what to do next. So it's a matter of punishment, and no guidance after you have done something wrong. So it's more of dictatorship. So that's what we mean by authoritarian. Then let's go to the second one, which is called authoritative. How is this style in the dimension of warmth and control? Authoritative parents, they are warm, they communicate, however, they also exert appropriate control. These are the parents who are very responsive to their children. They are sensitive to the physical, emotional needs of their children, and they respond appropriately and consistently. There are moments I remember, as Dr. Nabila has said, when I was a teacher, a child would be sick and you tell her, I want to call your parent. And the child will tell you, teacher, don't call my parent. And then you ask why. Even if you call them, they will not come. Others, they know their parents would come. So for an authoritative parent, what they do, they are very responsive. They will respond to the needs of their children. These parents, they set clear expectations and they explain them to the children. They tell the children the expectations, and they also inform the children the consequences of not meeting the expectations. So by the time the child decides to disobey, the child is well aware of the consequences. And therefore, there is no struggle between the parent and the child, because the child is well aware. If I don't do my homework, these are the consequences. This thing will be withdrawn from me. As much as they will get mad, deep within their hearts, they know, mommy had told me, daddy had told me, so I am the one to blame. So that is what we call authoritative parenting styles. They are openly affectionate and they treat their kids with respect. They talk to them, not at them, and they listen with attention. They value their children and they seek to build positive relationship with their children. Remember, they have a measure of control, but it is appropriate, and they explain the expectations to their children. That is authoritative. The same parents, they are also nurturing and appropriately involved in their children's lives. So the authoritative parent style is accepted. It is the healthiest. This is the most healthy parenting style when it comes to matters parenting. Let me go to the third one, permissive parenting style. Now, what is the characteristics of permissive? And I want to believe we're also reflecting on ourselves. I'm also reflecting on me. And those who don't have families, we're reflecting on how you grew up. Where do your parents fall? Permissive parents, they show warmth, but do not exact control. These are the parents who don't have many expectations from their children. They might establish rules, but they hardly follow through. They don't. You're supposed to be in the house by 6. And by 6, nobody bothers to know whether you're in the house or not. They are not bothered. But at the same time, they are very warm. And these are the parents who rarely punish their children, or they rarely meet bad behavior with any sort of correction or consequences. These are the parents who say, you know, she's a child. You know, they will always be friends. They are more of friends. They communicate, but they do not hold their children responsible. If something happens, they will understand. They are more of friends. That is what we mean by permissive. They are very responsive. If something happens, they are there to help their children, but they are not demanding. They do not demand anything from their children. They're just good parents. You do something wrong, they will understand. And what happens, their children will always do as they wish. They will do as they wish because they know their parents, because there will be no interference. That's who they are. And more often than not, permissive parents, they want to be friends with their children. They just want to be friends. And you see, when you become a friend with your child, you lose your authority as a parent. So as you go out with the child will look at you as another friend, because parenting has a sense of authority. This is my mother, so I cannot do this. This is my father. So they lose, as a parent, you lose that position of being a parent. So you are more of friends with the children. So they are nurturing, they aren't as nurturing and affectionate as authoritative parents. They are not, yes, they take care of their children, but not to the same degree as authoritative parents. And the last one is what we call uninvolved parents or neglectful parents. They lack warmth, they lack control completely. These are the parents, if something happened to a child in school, a child will tell you, teacher, don't bother calling my parents. And then you ask them why? Because they won't come. Even if you call them, even if something wrong has happened to me, I'm almost dying, a child will comfortably tell you so. Because children pick the parenting style they are receiving from their parents. And you know, that is very sad. A child tells you, Mwalimu, take me to the hospital. I'm better off with you than my parents, because they won't come. That's what we call uninvolved. But you know, it has an impact on that child. These are the parents who their character, this parenting style is more of disinterest and unresponsive. So disinterested and unresponsive. So children of these parents, more often than not, they raise themselves. Can you imagine a child who is sick in school and she tells you, don't bother calling my parents? So I will take her to hospital as a parent, as a teacher, bring her back to school, she takes her medication and life goes on. They raise themselves. Even at home, they still raise themselves. Sorry. Because the parents are not warm and they don't have any control over their children. In fact, grow up. As long as you're in this world, just grow up. That is the attitude of uninvolved parents. And what happens with these parents? They have no structure of parenting. They have no rules. They have no guidance. They have no moderation. So what happens to the children with this parenting style? They grow up lacking self-control. You know, when as a parent, you have control of your child, you are teaching them self-control. Then they also grow up lacking self-esteem. Why is it so? Because self-esteem, more often than not, is built at home in the interaction between a parent and a child. When a child does something good, they say, well done, keep it up. I am boosting their self-esteem. But imagine this child will never receive such affirmation, will never receive such encouraging words from a parent. So what do? They will have very low self-esteem. And a majority of them from experience also as a teacher. Those days I was a teacher, they develop behavioral issues. They don't ask them, these parents don't ask about the school. In fact, nothing bothers them as long as they have paid school fees. And even at times, they don't even pay their school fees. They might provide the necessities, or they might not provide any, the basic needs of their children. Now, having looked at the four of them, could be someone is reflecting, where do I fall as a parent? I'm also reflecting. Those who don't have children, you are reflecting, where do my parents, where do they fall when you are growing up? So let us now look at parenting style. How can it affect the mental health of a child? And this child is the very person we are calling the youth or the adolescents. When children develop mental health problems relating to parenting styles, The challenges can either be, the mental health problem can either be internalized or externalized. Internalized mental health problems, these are the problems that are turned inside. They're turned inward, such as anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression are mental disorders that are internalized. It's about me. Or they can be externalized, turned outside or outward, such as aggressive behavior and any other behavioral problem. So it is either of the two, internalized mental health problems or externalized mental health problems. Let's now look at each parenting style in the interest of time. Authoritative style, which we said is the most positive parenting style, and it impacts the children in a positive way. Remember something, there's something we call self-efficacy, where you believe that you are well able to perform a task. Self-efficacy starts from our families. When as a parent, you ask a child to do something and they do it and you commend them, you are actually building their efficacy, their sense of the ability to perform a task. Number two, allow me underscore the something else, that the family is the primary socializing agent. School and other places come second. So whatever happens in the family is very, very key. So for children who are brought up by parents who believe in them, parents who affirm them, parents who teach them to take responsibility over their actions, those children, what happens? They are self-reliant, they are cooperative, they are responsible, they are well adjusted in life, and they are mentally healthy. I can confidently say that, because there are moments when a child misbehaves or there's a problem in school. You only need to see how that child interacts with the parent. And from there, you will know where the problem is. And that is very, very sad indeed. Authoritarian. This is where dictatorship is all about. The truth is, the parent will get the obedience you want from the child, because you set rules, no reasoning, it's a matter of obeying. You will get that obedience. I agree with you. However, it has some mental implication on the child. The children will grow up with the following issues. They will have challenges with their self-esteem. They will withdraw from others. They will have the risk of developing anxiety and depression. They will have feelings of being undervalued. And this will play out in their interpersonal relationships a great deal, because they learn something at home that they will play out when they go out there. But the most unfortunate thing, these children might emulate their parents and they become aggressive in nature. They show their anger. They don't know how to manage their anger. Because in their home, when the father has anger issues, the mother has anger issues, they have never learned what is control. So parents model to them on how to manage their emotions. So at the end of the day, these children might end up playing out the same things that are happening in their homes. Allow me to give you some study findings that I found quite interesting. I bumped into this study finding from some researchers in Belgium. Actually, they are researchers from University of Leuven, Belgium. But the source of this research, this post was from European College of Neuropsychopathology. And what they found out, the topic of their article was, so they said that strict parenting may hardwire depression risk into a child's DNA. Strict parenting. So according to their findings, strict parenting, which is characterized by manipulative behavior, physical punishment, and excess strictness. And now this plays out the authoritarian parenting, because those are the characteristics of authoritarian parenting. So strict parenting and other childhood stresses, they increase depression risks later in life. by altering the way in which DNA is read. This is research. That strict parenting and other childhood stresses, they increase the likelihood of children developing depression later in life. How? By altering the way in which the DNA is read. So according to this study, strict parenting can introduce an additional set of instructions to how a gene is read to become hardwired into DNA. And they found out this because they measured the range of methylation between two different groups of adolescents, 12 to 16 years. Those who came from warm, accommodating parents, what I would call authoritative, and those who came from authoritarian families. And they realized there was a difference in the range of methylation. And that now confirms, does parenting style affect the mental health of youth? And I want to believe you have the answer with you out of this research that was actually done the other day, that strict parenting may hardwire depression risk into the child's DNA. Let me not belabor on that. Let me go to the permissive parenting style. Remember, permissive is where you do as you wish. I will not restrict you. You are free. We are more of friends. So when raised by parents with a permissive parenting style, kids tend to develop low self-esteem, and they have very little self-reliance. They have never been trained to be responsible. Their parents will always do everything for them. They have never even done anything that will build their self-efficacy. No, it is more of their parents doing it. It's more about the house managers doing for them. They are more of friends to their parents. Common behavior problems for children who grow up in such an environment, and I can attest to this because I saw it as a high school teacher those days I was teaching. They are very, very impulsive. They are aggressive. They are rebellious. They lack self-control, and they have low achievement. Remember, self-control is taught at home. Remember, respect is taught at home. But if there's nobody who is taking that position, that child will grow up knowing that we are all equal. And in fact, these are the children, when they go to school, I don't know whether I'm running ahead of myself, they will have problems with the authority. They will have no respect for teachers. They'll have no respect for the principal. They'll have no respect for the other children. They will find themselves more often than not having problems with the authority. They also rank low on happiness and have issues with self-regulation. These kids are also at a risk of developing depression. Why is it so? Imagine a child who seems not to fit anywhere. So the levels of stress will be very, very high. And as the stress levels go high, there's a relationship between stress and mental health and mental disorders. So they are also at a risk of developing mental disorders because they have no restraint. To them, we are all equal, and they will talk to people as they wish. Let's go to the last one, uninvolved or neglectful. Like kids raised by permissive parents, these children from an involved or neglectful parent are in danger of developing depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and behavior problems. Each and every person in this life wants to be affirmed. It is an inherent nature for us to feel loved. In fact, we have 5 basic needs as human beings, and there is the need of love and belonging, according to Maslow hierarchy of needs. Love and belonging. That, I guess, it comes immediately after basic needs. If a child lacks love and belonging, if you're not loved at home, who will love you outside the home? So they grow up with feelings of rejection, so that even when people want to receive them, they are not ready. They don't know how to embrace love. And that becomes a great challenge in their adult life or even in their youthful life. So those are the risk factors that come in when it comes to uninvolved. In conclusion, now that you know how parents affect their children's mental health, let us all be mindful of what we say to our children since they are impressionable. Please let us mind. And as parents, it is important that we support our children and always offer them the love, warmth that they deserve as children. Remember, we are a very key attachment figure in the lives of these children. They will learn how to love from us. It is us to show them what it means to love. It is us who will mold them to ensure that their mental health is actually stable by the time they hit adolescence or they become youths. But someone might be present and wondering, I have looked at those parenting styles and I think I fall in one of them. What do I do? I have realized I have a weakness somewhere. And I have realized quietly, I am putting my child at a risk of developing a mental disorder later in life. Remember, it's not that they will develop, but you increase the risk of them developing a mental disorder. What do I do as a parent? Someone else could be saying, yeah, my parent was that type, authoritarian. And as you speak right now, I can tell for a fact my parents affected my mental health, even as I listen right now. What next? Self-awareness. Somebody say that self-awareness is the heartbeat of change. You will never change that which you are not aware of. Now that you are aware, you are a better placed. There are some things that you might need to deal with as a parent right now, or as an aspiring parent before you get a child. And that's where psychotherapy comes in, where you go to a counselor and you review or you go back to your childhood experiences. And let me say at this juncture, what factors determine the parenting styles? One of them is what was modeled to us growing up. Number two is our personality types. Number three, we have age. So there are many factors that mold our parenting styles. So if you realize that for sure you need help, there is help. Chiromo Hospital Group is we offer mental health care, and we are open to that. The other thing you can do parenting programs as a prevention or early intervention. This will help you to know how best do I handle myself? How best do I handle my children? How best do I learn to negotiate with the children? At what point do we reason together with my child? At what reason should they do what I say? That will help you, because as children grow up, we actually change some of the things we do with them, so that at the end of the day, we are not counterproductive. The way you discipline a 2-year-old girl is not the same way you discipline a 15-year-old girl. Those are two different age groups. And one thing you will learn in parenting programs is how best you can be the best parent to ensure that your child's mental health is healthy and you're not putting them at a risk of developing a mental disorder. Thank you so much. There goes my last presentation. Dr. Nabila, to you. Those are our partners at Chiromo Hospital Group. And we have a toll-free number if you want to reach out to us. It is 24/7. Kindly, you can reach out to us and someone will be waiting for you on the other side. To you, Dr. Nabila.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Rose. It was quite informative presentation. And we've just seen that children are a gift from God and a blessing from Him. And Dr. Rose has shown us how we can, make informed decision when we're choosing a style of parenting. And she has emphasized that the style of parenting that we choose greatly affect our children's mental health. And not only their mental health, but their personality as well, okay? And I found that also very, very profound, yeah? Thank you, Dr. Ross, for emphasizing on that. The other takeaway from your presentation is the importance between, balancing parental control and parental warmth. I think this is just a summary of your presentation. Asante sana, Dr. Ross. Yeah. Let's have now Gathoni taking us through technology and its effects.
Dr. Nabila Kubi would encourage members to ask questions on the chats.
Yes. Kindly put your questions on the Q&A section, sorry. Yeah. Gathoni, you can, Dr. Rose, kindly stop sharing from your side to allow Gathoni to share her slides as well.
Are you able to see the slides?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much to my co-panelist, Dr. Rose. That was awesome and quite insightful. The next session will be talking about technology and mental health, specifically of the youth. And allow me to ask this question. Does technology affect the mental health of the youth? I'm wondering, what are your thoughts? What have you seen? What have you experienced? And what have you had around? So I'm just gonna set the timer to just a minute. What are your thoughts on this? Does technology affect the mental health of the youth? Okay, I can see. Yeah, yes. I think we are safe to say there are no no's so far. Absolutely. And let's just dive into the why. When we are looking at technology, the truth is we call this the digital era. And I can see more yeses are coming in, 49 out of the 49 participants all say yes. And the simple answer is absolutely. Technology does affect the mental health, not just of the youth, but of children, of us as adults, and everybody around us. But we are in what we call the digital era. The use of technology is continuously expanding, influencing every area of our lives, from our ability to communicate with loved ones to accessing information. Earlier on today, having a conversation in terms of the use of social media, one of the things that came out is the use of WhatsApp and how nobody can imagine not being able to use WhatsApp because it's literally become a key area of communication and now has successfully been adopted into the corporate world. For those of you who are here who are parents, you would bear witness that that is also the form of communication sometimes of a school or sharing homework here and there. So technology is part and parcel of our daily lives. Children and young people today have grown up in an era of digital technology and being familiar with computers, mobile devices, and internet from an early age. If you're a parent today, if you're a parent of today, then your child is actually exposed to screen time, to digital devices, whether it's TV, all the lullabies nowadays are being displayed on TV, on tablets, on phones, whichever way you want to look at it. The interaction between technology and us now, today, the world of today, is beginning right from zero, from the first lullaby of a child. And when we look at research, we can see this also showing up to be true. And the truth is there is actually a significant link between the use of technology and the mental health of children. Okay, so the rise in children's use of technology has led to a growing concern about how it does affect the children's brains, their bodies, and their social, emotional, cognitive, and physical development. Okay, so first of all, in case you're in this forum and you're wondering how long does it take the brain to develop, the answer is 25 years. So you can imagine what does it mean for this parent, or for any parent, even myself, introducing gadgets, screen time, technology to a child who has barely even begun the journey of brain development. So screen time is something that we really need to think about and to evaluate. And when I was doing research in preparation for today, what I realized is that the recommended screen time for children, and when I'm talking about children, these are children of school going age, from above 10 years, not even the 7 years that we think. So it should be at least not more than 2 hours. Yeah, you can go and look at that. And that is everything combined, from TV to gadgets to food, any exposure to digital media and to technology, not more than 3 hours. So we've just come from talking about parenting and parenting styles. And as you reflect on that, which parenting style do you fall, then this is also something to be able to consider or to think about. Because if you're a permissive parent, or if that's the parenting style that you're using, then you're likely just to let the kids use the gadget whenever they want, for however long they want. But this will absolutely affect them. So the effects of technology on children and teens can have an impact on their social skills and their development. In fact, if you look at most children today, they barely go out to play and to interact. So the social skills are reduced because they are spending all their time inside the building, just interacting between themselves and a gadget. And that's something that we really need to look at as parents. So the effects are negative, especially to us adults, when technology is overused. So I don't want to be in this space and feel like I'm just bashing the use of technology. This is part and parcel of our life. So the overuse here is what is a concern. So technology must be balanced with other aspects of your life in order to remain healthy, both mentally and physically. So self-care is actually paramount, and more so for people who spend long hours in front of laptops, or working a lot through their phones or through their tablets, or basically just through the internet. It's important for us to realize that our lives are not just one aspect, not just the professional only. In fact, there are 5 different facets of our lives, and all these need to be addressed. So let's briefly look at the platforms. I'm sure you have interacted with 1 or 2 or all of these platforms. These are the available platforms for today. But what I want to show you is statistically, in terms of use of these platforms. So the most commonly used is Facebook. And when you look at Facebook, you can see the percentage in terms of use. 18 to 29 years, 30 to 49 years is at 79%. But you can see the young people, what we're calling the youth, the teenagers, actually they're not left far behind at 51%, but also 50 to 64% at, 50 to 60 years at 68%. Facebook is the social media platform that is generally, quote unquote, just allow me to say this, that it's the social media platform of the older generation, as compared to any other of the platforms that we are going to see. So, and I want you to ask yourself, how much time do you actually spend on these social media platforms? The other social media platforms is Instagram. This is actually the platform that is used most by younger people. You can see people above 65 is only at 8%. 50 to 64 years is only at 23%, as compared to 68% on Facebook. You can see when we look at the youth bracket all the way from 35 above, you can see this is a platform that is heavily used. And why? Because this is a platform that actually allows for videos, for reels, for pictures, basically pictorials on fashion, lifestyle, food, whatever it is that you want to display, body. This is a platform. This is also the most detrimental platform to young people in terms of comparison. Because of how visual this platform is, then you'll find that a lot of issues and competitions and unhealthy comparison is likely to come from this. And I'm going to ask you, as a parent here, or as a guardian, or as a mentor, the people who you interact with, the young people who are under you, can you check their phones to see, do they have access to these platforms? And if your children also go for sleepovers, because you could actually be the parent who you have tried your best to safeguard your child from access to these platforms, but then we also let them go for sleepovers. What kind of a household are they going to? What parenting styles, what values are there? Are they also in line with what you practice in your home? Twitter is another one. This is actually the most active social media platform ever created. So when you look at statistically, there is a balance. There is a balance today. Initially, it used to be more people over the age of 30 using it, but a lot more younger people are getting into Twitter. And this is actually the platform that is in charge of all sorts of bullying, rumor mongering, all sorts of stories, because this is happens per second. It's an active platform. Actually, information is only it expires literally after 5 minutes. So it's constantly being updated. So real-time conversations are happening with everybody around the world. Look at also something very interesting in the gender statistics here. I want us to briefly look at that. When you look at Twitter, then we have more males, more men using Twitter. When we go to Instagram, we have more females using Instagram. This is because Instagram is the platform where, like I said, it's pictorial. Who are the people who like taking most selfies? Who are the individuals who want to share a picture of every meal that they eat in a restaurant? So females use Instagram more. When you look at Facebook as well, because Facebook has both pictures and the story itself, the post, then you find that the gender balance is not that significant, but still they have more females than male. Something very important for us to look at. And another really good and upcoming platform is the Pinterest. And Pinterest is absolutely definitely for younger people. This is the platform that people go to look for the do-it-yourself, the DIYs of today. Whether somebody wants to do clothes, you're looking for a design in a house, you're wondering what kind of fashion is current, Pinterest is actually the place to be. And you can actually see there are also more females than male absolutely using Pinterest. And then we come to YouTube. Surprisingly, you've been seeing a higher statistics of more females than males. But when you look specifically at Twitter and YouTube, then you find that we have more males than females. I want you to note 13 to 17 years of age at 85%. I want you to note 18 to 29 years. I want you to note between 30 to 49 years. Yeah, that how high that percentage is, and also 50 to 64 years. This is actually the platform that is able to eventually transform content into money. And you'll find that a lot more children today are engaging in watching YouTube videos. And you'll hear today you will actually hear a child saying, when I grow up, I want to be a YouTuber. Yeah, imagine that. Because the thought process feels as simple as I only need to stand in front of a camera and record something that I'm doing, and I'll begin to, to make money. So what this social media and what technology and basically the digital platforms are also increasing is the instant gratification, that everything seems so easy to be done, but that's not necessarily the case. When your child is able to access YouTube, what I'm going to add, those of us who are here and they have young children or even teenagers, link the YouTube accounts to Google accounts, because Google is actually able to identify age based on the year of birth. So don't let your child use your Google account. Open a Google account with your child's email address, and that way their age real time is recorded. And when that is done, so what happens, you enforce parental control. So anytime your child wants to download a game, it sends you an alert. I will always receive an alert on my phone. XYZ wants to download a game, when you're in the office, and you can choose not to do that. It also selects age appropriate. It is also important to know, as much as these social media sites are also able to recognize age, I think it's very, very important that we also come back to who are we as a people, to our culture. The truth is, what the information that a child in a first world country, in a European country or the US, accesses at 9 years is way different than what a 9-year-old today here knows. So what we are doing is that we get to expose our children to a lot of information that is unnecessary, that is before their growth. And the truth is, children are sharing this information, they're influencing each other, they are telling each other, go Google this, go try this on YouTube, and watch this. But also for us as adults, we are spending more time on social media. And the next question that I want to ask you guys, we are ending the 10th month, just 2 more months before this year comes to an end. Have you tried to have a social media detox? And a social media detox is just deciding to switch off all your social media accounts. You can either put them on mute. Some people decide to delete, then reinstall the social media accounts. So have you had a social media detox over the last 48 hours? As we wait for the poll to come up, have you had a social media detox where you have put your gadgets? Because what this does is that it reduces the overload, information overload. When you go to Twitter, when you go to YouTube, it's just information. You keep absorbing that over and over and over and over and over. So it is actually very paramount, very important for your mental health to really detach yourself. Remember, you also spend the whole day when you're working with these gadgets. I love what I'm seeing, and I'm so happy to see that there are some individuals who have actually tried to do this for themselves. I can see that we have around 87% now. 34 of you are saying a no, 5 of you are saying yes. I'll give you just a few more minutes as we continue. Have you had a social media detox? Yes, thank you. I can see more and more answers. All right, 6, 7, fantastic. We are at 16% on yeses, 84% on the no's. This is very good. And I had this conversation today again, just asking people, have you had a social media detox? And one of the questions was, what exactly is a social media detox? How will I do without my WhatsApp? you know, it's another question. So we have actually gotten to a point where there is also some form of dependence. And my challenge is today, challenge yourself, just try and see how long can you actually stay when that WhatsApp is muted. For how long can you be able to do that? Okay, let's end the poll and look at the impact that this has on our lives. So one, there are 6 potential factors that indicate dependence. So you could be asking, I've never had a social media detox for myself, but am I really dependent? So these are some of the best things and the best questions for you to be able to ask yourself. So number one, when we are looking at your mood swing, do your moods actually vary between the times that you're spending on social media and the time that you're not on social media? Okay, or do you depend on social media use to be excited during the day or during the night? How are your moods affected by social media? Another thing that I want you to look at is relevance. Do you actually get to a point where you have to either post, you have to use social media for you to actually feel relevance? There's something called fear of missing out. So you feel that if you don't post, you feel that if you don't show this, that somehow you're not going to be relevant enough. I want us to look at something else as validation. Do you actually truthfully depend on social media for validation? Are you constantly going to check on your WhatsApp status, who has viewed my status today? Are you constantly going to check on the photo that you posted, who has made a comment, who has put a like or not? That is validation. Okay. Another one is the time you spend on social media increasing. Is there an increase? And one thing that I want us to note is to be able to ask ourselves, how long do you actually take time? There is an app that you can be able to download and link it to your phone, and it will be able to tell you how long you actually spent on social media platforms and which social media platforms that you used. So depending on the phone that you are using, that is something that you can actually use just to check on yourself. Have a downtime that can be set on your phone so that it can reduce, or it can always prompt you from that. Anxiety symptoms, do they increase when you cannot access social media sites? And when we are looking at conflicts, do you always get into conflict over the use of social media? So conflict becomes something, and this is happening a lot, especially between parents and children, where when you're trying to withdraw, when you're trying to set boundaries, you're fighting because of technology, you're fighting because of those phones. When you look at couples within a relationship, the highest levels of conflict, it's because of that phone. When people are out there, you've gone to share a meal, you don't even spend time trying to connect with each other as it should. So all that time is spent on phone. So conflicts in real life can also be able to be seen clearly. And those are some of the negative effects, that constantly your mood is just everywhere. There is constant trying to seek relevance, validation. Your time is increasing, and definitely you become anxious. Yes, and I'm going to ask and leave this question with you. You do not need to answer here. But if you are amongst the people who, when you leave your phone at home, you feel like you're going to die, literally, allow me to use that, then there is a problem. Okay, be okay with detaching yourself from technology. The next thing we are going to look at is addiction. Now we've seen the negative impacts of it, but have you gotten to a point of addiction, or is this just at what stage are you at? So number one is salience. Let's look at salience. Is your social media use deeply integrated in your daily life? Is it deeply integrated? Are you in the people who say, no, I can't be able to do this? How will I survive this? Okay. And just like looking at the negative impacts, another thing would also be mood. Your mood swings and the mood keeps changing. Tolerance is increasing more and more use. You get anxious symptoms when you become withdrawn from using social media, conflict, and absolutely relapse. When you try to withdraw from use of social media, you relapse. You're not able to make that commitment with yourself. And looking at this criteria of 6, I would say if you score at least above between 3 and 4, then this is the time to be able to check on yourself, to check on, am I really addicted? Is this just a normal use or there is an addiction to it? What is this role? What is the role of technology in mental health? And truthfully speaking, like I said earlier, it's not all negative, because social media has done one great thing in terms of being able to provide connection. People used to be in a space where you would write a letter and it would take 1 week before that letter is delivered, and your mind is already set on that, and that was okay. So there is much more connection. You can trace a parent you've never seen. You can trace schoolmates you are with in primary school. You can literally interact with your children who are out of the country. So yes, there is a good positive part of it in terms of strengthening connection. Positively also, you are able to ease anxiety. If you're concerned, if you want to access news and you're wondering what is it that is going on, what has happened, then in that case, it's able to ease that anxiety. Information. When social media, when technology is actually used in the right way, it is actually a very powerful tool. There is nothing that you cannot be able to access in terms of information online. So it being used in the right way, there's a lot of information that you can be able to access. Okay. Positively also, you're able to promote worthwhile causes. When we look specifically at mental health awareness, a lot of things, these webinars that we are doing here, the Twitch chats that are always done online, when people come together to actually contribute, create pay bill numbers, to contribute even because you saw a story, you saw a documentary, and to support those people. So yes, technology can absolutely be used for a worthwhile cause. And this can also be a good outlet for your creativity and self-expression, doing videos, doing reels, learning a new skill. So either way, when used well, there's a lot that you can be able to learn. But on the flip side as well, there's a lot of inadequacy about your life or appearance, because there's that constant comparison. And usually this comparison is an upward comparison. So you're looking at your body image, and there is the body image that has been portrayed online, on social media, through technology, as the ideal body image. So you're constantly comparing yourself, and that leads to feelings of inadequacy. The reason why there's an itch to always be on technology is because of that FOMO, the fear of missing out. You just want to be the person who has information, contributing. Did you see this story? Did you see what that celeb here and there says? So that will always make you continue itching to be online. And there is a link between heavy use of technology and depression and anxiety as well. And this is this is evidence-based. It's not just theoretical. Another negative thing that happens is the exposure to bullying. As much as somebody is looking for that validation, those likes, those comments, what about the time that you'll get negative comments? What will happen the time that you're bullied? What will happen to a child who is not ready or even stable enough emotionally when they go online and they do something that they thought would bring them relevance and validation, and they end up getting bullied? So cyberbullying absolutely is something that we cannot ignore, and we'll just look at those statistics shortly. And then self-absorption. This comes in whereby an individual begins to focus their whole life about themselves. So you become so self-absorbed in who you are and what you're doing, and you want to constantly make it about yourself. There's a lot that is going on. In fact, today there was a Twitter thread that I was reading about how individuals are going out of their way to contribute to the poor, going out of their way. While you're contributing to the poor, you want to take photos, you want to listen to a story, then you want to cry, and you want to ensure that those tears have been captured, correctly. So then the question begs, is this still for a good cause, or is this part of just being self-absorbed? Those are some of the negative effects that that individuals we experience. What we are looking at is the vicious cycle. Yeah. First, it starts with curiosity. When you're young, as a child, you just want to know what is going on. What do adults do? What do people watch? What is happening here and there? And then that slowly develops to an increased use in social media. And the more you use, the more negative emotions that you get. I know people who have made it a vow that they will stop watching news, because every time you go to any news outlet, you find that it's one catastrophic story after the other. And this also begins to affect on your mood as well, in how you think, in your perception and perspective about life. So yes, your emotions will be affected negatively. And being affected negatively, ideally, it should be to withdraw. But no, this will not happen. You get into more social media use instead. After that, there is that continuous fear. You don't want to miss out on anything that is going on. That also takes you to a negative implication about your mood again. Then back to increase social media. So social media use, you can see how vicious this cycle continues to be. It's not easy for us to be able to identify this account for you to say at this point I increased and negative emotions happened, and more social media use. This actually continues happening throughout the night. So what are some of the signs that social media is impacting? Isolation. If you're just okay with yourself just because you have technology, then that's a concern. If you need to isolate yourself, if your use also has led to a lot of loneliness because you don't have time to socialize, you don't have time to interact. If you've ended up getting depressive symptoms where you feel extreme form of sadness, I'm talking about depression or even addiction to it, then social media is absolutely impacting your mental health. If you have lost in touch with reality, I don't know if you've ever heard from conversations here to there when somebody says, I think this person is in a bubble. They are living in another alternate reality. This is what you're talking about. If you have lost touch with reality because of what you have exposed to yourself, where social media is concerned, that is something you need to be concerned about. If you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet and the first thing you think about is, let me look at my phone. In the middle of that dream that you've had and you wake up, let me look at my phone. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you want to do, let me look at my phone. Then that is also a sign that it's really impacting on your mental health, because what that is clearly showing is the level of dependence that you have on social media. Okay, cyberbullying. And this is very, very interesting because as we'll see briefly, but allow me to say that Kenya was ranked number 1 out of 171 countries by the UN report where bullying is concerned. This is actually the only country, Kenya, that managed to bully former president out of using Twitter. So Kenyans have actually been seen as being able to unite more if they are going to stand against another person or bully them out of their comfort zone, what we call the KOTs, Kenyans on Twitter. But you can see here, in terms of bullying, that is going on where Facebook is concerned, by email as well, on Twitter, through texting as well. And you can also see in terms of contributions by suicide. In fact, looking at these cases, there was this case that happened in 2017 where a 13-year-old accidentally killed himself on Instagram Live. Imagine streaming a live, and you're dying by suicide. There was also this case happening in 2020 where a boyfriend, allow me just to say, dies by suicide. It's very important that we take care of language. In a live video, as girl marries another rich person. So a relationship has gone wrong and the individual went to social media and actually took their own life. Teen's suicide plays out on a Facebook Live. The other day, we were also shown, I think all of you saw the story of this young girl who was unfortunately swimming and trying to record themselves while swimming, which I would say was a good thing, but unfortunately they ended up drowning and no help, and that was also streamed on social media as well. So there's a lot that is happening where social media is concerned. Just today, somebody uploaded a photo of a young girl who has hung themselves on Twitter just this morning. And that is also something that was going around. So we've gotten to a space where things have been normalized to the extent that it is okay to actually share this. And what I'm going to challenge all of us is that sometimes when some of those clips cross your lines, you don't have to actually share them across, okay? I've talked about the bullying of the president and the UNODC report, but you can go and look at that so that you can realize this is how serious this issue is. And our children who are growing up looking at us as parents, being dependent on these social media sites, are doing the exact same thing. I'm just about to wind up. Positive social media use. This is actually one of the best spaces, whether it's WhatsApp or any other way, not just to connect, but to be able to support each other. So you can be able to share self-care tips, be a role model, post lived experiences. In fact, social media has changed the dynamic of how people are looking at mental health today because of the documentaries being done, because of the people who've come out to share their lived experiences. And now more people are beginning to realize that, you know what, this can also happen to me. More people are beginning to realize that you can still be the best version of yourself even with a mental illness. So used well, there is a lot of positivity that can come out of this, as you can see very well elaborated there. Allow me to just look at mental health awareness as we finish. Remember, I don't know if you've heard of this popular musician who is called Avicii. He died by suicide the 20th of April. This is to let you know that mental health is closer to us than we would like to admit. On the 12th of October, there was a story of the manager who also died by suicide. And then we've heard of OJ opening up. We've heard of another lady, Akode, open up about her mental health awareness journey. Omosh, you heard about that person open up about their mental health journey. One of our very own as well, Shebesh, open up about their mental health journey. So mental awareness is something that is key. Mental health is something that we all have, and statistically 1 in 8 people are likely to experience a mental health problem. So we need to take care of ourselves more than ever. And because technology is one of the things that we really do heavily focus on, it's important that we be very mindful. And how can social media improve mental health? It provides a non-judgmental platform. Talk about what you're going through, and while you're at it, be kind. Okay, it also gives a voice and allows opportunities to connect. It features role models like the ones that I've told you, about their mental health journey, and also the constant reminder that we are not alone. All in all, we are saying that the effect of social media on mental health depends on how it is used. So it's not the social media, it's not the technology that it is the enemy, but rather how we use that and how we interact, the relationship that we have between ourselves as individual and social media. It is hard to speak up about your experiences when you're worried about them being perceived negatively. So when you're on those, we call them social media streets, or using technology, absolutely try and be mindful. And remember that healing takes time, and asking for help is a courageous step. You are not alone. One last thing that I would like to say, that we do have a toll-free line, 0800 to 20 000. Okay, this is the line that you can be able to use and reach out. There's a team of psychologists at the back end who are always ready to help and to support. So share this with your loved ones, share this with your family, and feel free to be able to reach out. We open this forum to any questions that will be arising, and thank you very much for staying on. Back to you, Dr. Nabila.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gathoni. Quite very important conversation, I must say. And Gathoni has told us that we are not condemning social media, but just like parenting, balancing is key. Okay. And she also told us that for children, screen time should not be more than 3 hours. There's a question here, and I would like, I know Linus has answered it, but I would like to hear your take, Gathoni, and even Dr. Rhodes, if you wish. The other challenge of the day is social media detox. I would really want to see, by show of your electronic hands, who will start practicing this thing, because I'm one of them. Yeah. So I think this is a very good challenge, Gathoni. So there's this question. Ibrahim Mohammed is asking, is there a maximum number of hours to spend on social media for positive reasons? Gathoni or Dr. Rose, anyone of you?
Gathoni can take that.
Okay.
Dr. Nabila, please read out the question again.
Yes, so he's asking, is there a maximum number of hours to spend on social media for positive reasons?
All right. I think it would depend on what positive reasons and how your time spent on social media is impacting on your mental health. Because no matter how good or where your heart is, whether your heart is in the right place or not, if at the end of the day, your interaction with social media is impacting how you feel, it's impacting how you behave, and it's impacting your thoughts, then I think it's okay to actually take a back seat and reevaluate those patterns. This includes for people who have to work online, for example, using social media platforms. So what you're doing is actually good, but how is it impacting your overall well-being?
And I think also the social media detox, and we can practice more of that as well in between, right? Yeah, I've liked that one very much, Gathoni. The other question he's asking is, what about online games? where kids play with their friends or schoolmates? Is there a recommended time limit? And yesterday, actually, someone came to my office and asked, do people come for treatment or intervention, on such a thing like game addiction? So have you ever had someone who has come to you, Gathoni, with game addiction to help them with that?
Well, truthfully speaking, I've not, because when we are talking about addiction, we are talking about a heavy dependence, and usually addiction in itself is comorbid. So somebody might not come because of the games. They might easily come because of either depression or anxiety or even substance abuse. But I have, in the couple sessions, because I do a lot of couple sessions, one of the things that usually comes up is usually a lot of conflict about phones. And where games are concerned, the issue arises where the men are dependent or rather spend a lot of time playing PS and playing an Xbox. So the wives are always complaining, when he's at home, he doesn't even interact with me. He's just on the games, or his friends come over and they spend all their time on the games. And let's not actually forget, even though we didn't mention this earlier on, the number of people, or how betting is doing very well. The bets that the gambling that goes on just because of the various games around the world as well. So there is a heavy dependence. But when you're looking at kids, just allow me to answer that question. What I saw was the recommended time was 2 hours. So I would say maybe trying to stick to that, like regardless, because it said of screen time. So whether it's games or TV or tablet or whatever it is, they're interacting with other kids, just to reduce that number of screen time and encourage children to be children, to go outside, play, ride their bikes, do art, engage in activities with them as parents, because they're not going to be that age forever. So begin creating that boundary for them.
Thank you. So it's 2 hours, not 3 hours, right? And people are asking whether we can share the presentations. And it's yes, we will share presentations, not immediately, a little bit later. Okay, so you will get both the presentations. There are no other questions. There's one. Name of the app to monitor our use of social media. A lot of questions around social media. Gathoni, again, you.
I'm actually just looking. We have, I usually use a habit reminder. So that's in the Apple family, if you can use that. I don't know if that is applicable on Android, but we have habit reminder, and then there is also another one called Better Me. So basically it just shows you at the end of the day how much screen time did you have, and then you can always be able to what is it, do not disturb. You can always be able to set a time for do not disturb. So for example, you ensure that maybe when you get to the house, the do not disturb automatically goes on, and it doesn't come back on until maybe say 8 o'clock when you are at work. But even with do not disturb, the only thing it will help you is maybe in terms of calls, in terms of notifications, in terms of WhatsApp messages, and just other normal text messages. But there's still a big part where your habits matter, because you can still go and check on that phone yourself. I have heard other people say you teach yourself how to charge your phone in the sitting room and you sleep in the bedroom rather than going with your phone in the bedroom. I've not tried that myself, but I've heard people saying that has worked for them. I want to be very honest. So you can also write in the chat box what has worked for you. We could learn from it.
Yeah. So Patrick is saying good presentation, Gathoni and Dr. Rose, very insightful. Thank you. So while they are doing that, I will, for the interest of time, I will allow Dr. Rose to give us a parting shot, 30 seconds or something like that, and then Gathoni.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nabila. I think my parting shot on parenting, I must say, number one, there's no health without mental health. When the parent takes care of their when parents take care of their mental health, then they will also be taking care of their children's mental health. Number two, parenting styles significantly affects the mental health of children. Take a moment and reflect on your parenting style. And if need be, please seek help for the sake of the future of your children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rose. Gathoni.
Thank you. It was indeed an honor to participate and to talk about technology and mental health, something that is really part of our daily life. And what I just want to remind, one of my favorite quotes say that if it is costing you your mental health, then it is too expensive. If it's costing you whatever it is, I know the conversation today is about parenting and it's about technology, but I want you to just try and evaluate in whatever situation you are. If it's costing you your mental health, then it is too expensive a price to pay. It is time to reevaluate and to practice self-care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I will have to end this session. And thank you so much, Dr. Rose and Gathoni. Thanks to the team behind the curtain. They've really been helping us. And thanks to all those who participated today till almost 9 p.m. So thank you so much and have a wonderful evening ahead. Bye-bye, everyone, and good night.
Bye-bye.